How do you pray without talking? How can God use your imagination to create deeper connection? And how does a scrappy kid growing up in Parkdale end up on a 9-month prayer retreat? Well, stick around on today's podcast and you will find out exactly how. Welcome to episode 24 of the Follow Podcast, an honest and open conversation for anyone who is actively learning to live like Jesus. We are in season 6. We're back, baby. This season is called Follow Fresh. I am so looking forward to it. It's based on OneChurch.to's teaching series, January 2026, called New. And it's a fantastic series. We're excited about it. And this is almost like a partner series going alongside it. And today's guest is Pauline Pennycad, part of our church family, and actually part of a brand new environment we're launching this month called Follow Wednesdays. We're going to get to know her really well today, and it's going to be a fantastic conversation. So let's jump in. Well, hello, Pauline. Welcome to the Follow Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while. I'm so grateful that you were willing to jump in and be part of this with us. But for some people, they might not know you that well. So let me just ask you something that's pretty mundane. What's a normal day look like for you right now? What is some of the highlights of your day? You were sharing a few of them with me earlier, but what's a normal day look like to Pauline right now?
Mornings. I love early mornings.
Oh, nice.
I love waking up, especially in winter, in the dark.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's freezing cold in the house.
Yeah.
But we have a room at the back of the house that looks out into the backyard, and I love sitting on the couch that looks out the window. And my routine is to get up early, and I've learned to make a pour-over coffee.
Okay.
Learned this about a year and a half ago. I have this whole thing about Jesus and coffee.
Okay. I might debate you on that. I'm on the tea side, but I know you enjoy teas as well.
I love both. But this is my morning ritual of the slow process of making coffee, and then sitting in the dark and watching the sunrise.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it's my time of just sitting with the Lord in silence, and no words, no prayer, just sitting there watching the sunrise. That is my ideal morning. So
that's awesome,
and my favorite time of the day.
That's beautiful. Well, I love that. I am an aspiring morning person. It depends on how late my nights have been lately, but I do love the winter. Definitely makes it easier to get up in the early morning. But hey, why don't we actually jump right back, because I know part of what you're doing in this season and what you're diving into on a personal level, as well as with the OneChurch.to church family and the community, and how we're going to talk a little bit of how you're diving into some ways of serving in a brand new way. But some of that comes from just like it does for all of us, where we grew up, how we came to this place. So would you share just like a snapshot maybe or two of your childhood or growing up, and how that's kind of been part of your story?
Yeah. I grew up in inner city Toronto, immigrant family, very, very typical immigrant story of the parents leaving. So my parents were from South Korea and decided to leave to give us a better opportunity educationally, and just more opportunities to have a better life. And so I was born in Seoul, South Korea, came here when I was a year and a half, grew up in the inner city in a pretty rough neighborhood. My parents, typical Korean story, opened a convenience store.
Love it.
So that's a show that was on Kim's Convenience.
Kim's Convenience, okay.
That was our story, but much grittier in real life. So grew up in that environment. I was telling my husband this morning, I was thinking about my childhood, and, if there was one word that described me to a T. It was Scrappy.
Scrappy.
I was a scrappy kid.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he still thinks I'm scrappy now as an adult, but that's another story.
We'll have to get him on for part 2.
Yeah, for sure. But grew up in a home that was new to faith. So my parents were both Buddhists, or came from Buddhist families in Korea. My father was introduced to Jesus in the military.
Okay.
He was in the Korean War, and he was stationed with the American unit. And so someone invited him to go to chapel, and he just brought that over and instilled faith within us. But the journey of faith has been it's in one of the teachings I'm preparing right now, it's very nonlinear. It's very messy.
Okay.
And my story is messy as well. And then stayed in Parkdale as a young adult until I got married. It's been an interesting journey. And then we landed here at OneChurch.to as a family about 5 years ago. And have been loving it.
Well, we are so glad to have you part of the church family, and in a lot of ways, you and your family are a big part of significant little moments all through. I love being able to see each of you finding places to serve and be a part of it. So it's beautiful. Can I take you back to? And you mentioned your journey was nonlinear. I think many of us would relate to that. But what was maybe a first spiritually significant moment for you it might have been a full-hearted commitment to following Jesus, but it might have been just an interest or a new way of seeing the world?
Yeah. I would say significant. I was probably around 12 or 13. So as a child, my concept of God was to fear God.
Okay.
The close relationship part really didn't get that. But I grew up in a Korean full gospel church, very, very charismatic. And speaking in tongues was that was the utmost, of utmost importance. And so my parents sent me to Brayside Camp with a group of kids from our church. And there was the altar call. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go, I have faith, and so I did, and it was received the gift of tongues back then, and but there wasn't a lot of follow up from my church as to what to do or what is this? And so but I think looking back on it, I think it was the grace of God that gave me an indication that although I didn't really know him, he knew me. And it was this, as I look back, this assurance that he has been with me every step of the way, even in those moments where I walked away. And so that, I would say, was the first pivotal encounter with God. And there have been several others where it was just so clear in the way he was reaching out to me and communicating with me.
Oh, that's beautiful. Maybe we can, I don't know, I might be trying to, don't force it if it's not something, but some of those seem like that would have been really a beautiful preparation for some of the seasons you've been in as a family more recently.
Yeah.
And I like how, as much as you're comfortable sharing, but you guys have been through some tougher seasons. And maybe not so much you walking away and coming back to God, but just sensing his closeness in tough times, or how is that and if I'm making something up, feel free just to throw it out. But how has that maybe transitioned into the seasons more recently, and how you're seeing God and His closeness in a different way in tougher seasons, more circumstances?
Yeah. The last 10 years of life for us as a family have been very, very challenging. It started with my mother being diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and not the happy clappy Alzheimer's. It turned into a very hard version of it, where there was a lot of violence,
Oh, boy.
a lot of it was very tough, and so went through that for a number of years, taking care of her. My mom passed away in 2017, and then I took care of my father. They moved about 5 minutes away from where we lived, and so taking care of him. He passed away in 2018, and then when I thought, there was grief, there was a lot of mixed emotions, and then my husband Ron got really sick.
Right.
He had a heart procedure done that had some complications, and that took us down another season of incredible difficulty. And it was one right after
It sounds
another.
like it, one right after the other. Yeah.
And then COVID hit. So
Right.
2019, 2020, COVID hits. And the gift of hindsight, to be able to look back and see with a little bit more clarity, because in the middle of it, you're just trying to survive to get through each day. But when I look back on those days, on those years, I can see God in the moments, even when I couldn't feel Him. There were many days where I cried out and said, "Lord, where are you?"
Right, I bet. Yeah.
Why this? When my mother is in a rage, and knowing this is not her, this is the illness, and when my father ends up in hospital, and unexpectedly passes away, and then so
Yeah.
it was one right after another, a very long season, but an incredible season of growth as well.
I don't think I've ever met anybody who's been through those types of seasons and did their best to try and integrate it with their faith. I've never talked to anyone who's done that, gone through that process and didn't come out the other side with a richer faith. With every single person I've talked to, it's been a horrible and beautiful part of their development in terms of their spirituality. You said something that maybe I could just ask you to explain a bit. When you look back at that season and you could see God was close now, but you felt like He wasn't at the time. What are you seeing when you look back?
In the places of silence, when I'm sitting in the hospital room, either with my mother or my father, when I'm feeding my mother, when I'm sitting with Ron in his illness, and thinking, how much more, Lord, how much more? When I look back, I see Jesus there, sitting with me in the hospital room, sitting with me on the chair, And if there's one thing to encourage others who are going through these dark seasons, we call them the dark night of the soul or hitting the wall.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to see beyond the immediate situation. But God knows that. And so it's in these moments that all you can do, in the moment, all you can do is hang on for dear life and just,
exactly.
It's not, you can't go by emotion. Oh, I feel God, or I sense him here. It's just got to be this head knowledge, because that's all that takes over at that moment is, okay, I got to trust you're here, God, because I don't feel you. I don't see you.
Yeah.
I don't sense
Well,
you.
you're feeling so many other things. Yeah.
Like you're drowning.
Yeah.
And, but again, the gift of looking back is to go, oh yeah, he was there.
Right.
He was right with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I would say to encourage anybody who's going through the same.
And so out of that season, I love this story. So I want you to tell us a little bit about it, but it is just so beautiful that God would call you from those back-to-back moments into a season of discovering a completely different way of practicing spirituality with God. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. So why don't you just tell us the story? Yeah, I'd love to hear you tell it again.
Yeah, so it was 2019, September 2019. My husband works for Muskoka Woods, and we had spent some time up there as we do every summer. And, he was just starting to recover. And we were... it was the last day of being there, and I was getting ready to move us all back home.
Okay.
And I was going to go grab some lunch, and I ran into a friend whom I hadn't seen in years.
Okay.
And we just on the path to lunch, I ran into her. We started catching up, and she started telling me about this course, this program that she was taking called Spiritual Direction. I'd never heard of it. And so I said, oh, tell me more. So as she's telling me about this course, I'm getting this, I don't know what to call it, but it's probably one of the clearest times I've heard God's voice where it said, you are to do this. And I remember I'm talking to my friend Sarah, but in my head I'm going, do what, Lord? I don't even know what this is.
Right.
It's like, doesn't matter. Do it. And so when we finished our conversation, I don't think I even went and got lunch. I went right back to my place, looked on the computer. She told me the name of the program, looked it up. And I'm like, Lord, what is this? And, but I keep hearing, do this, do this. So I go on the website, go into registration. Well, registration had closed a few days prior. And I said, see, Lord, I don't get it. It's not open.
You had your opt-out clause.
Exactly. It's like, I guess I'm not hearing right.
Yeah.
So then I run into another friend, an hour later, and she's one of my closest friends. So I said,
an hour later.
About an hour later.
I just want to, just want to highlight that. Yeah.
And then I'm telling her, I thought I heard God telling me to do this course that I don't even really know what it is. She's like, oh, well, who's it with? So I tell her, and she's like, oh, I'm really good friends with the director. She's like, I think I have her email. And I said, what? And she said, oh, let me contact her for you.
Wow.
And then I get an email from the executive director, and she said, yeah, put your registration in. I'll open it up for you. And so that story took me into a 3-year program that completely changed the way I approach God, the way I pray, the way I read scripture. It opened up I can't even fully describe the magnitude of my walk with Christ, with the Father, with the Holy Spirit. It's hard to put into words.
Well, we're definitely open to having you back and continuing the conversation. I'm sure we will. But maybe for those who this is like maybe the first time they've even heard of spiritual direction, just give us a quick what that is and what that type of practice is like.
Yeah, so as a spiritual director, what I do with my directees is I journey with them to see where Jesus, where God, where the Spirit is active in their lives. So thinking about those I journey with, it may be that they're in a season of struggling to see where God is. It may be in a season of transition for them, and so they're not sure what direction to take. Or it might just be wanting to have me come alongside them to have fresh eyes on what they're doing, where they're at on the way their journey with Jesus is, maybe give them some guidance or direction. It's not advice. It's not counseling. It's simply being a companion who can help them see things with fresh eyes sometimes.
Tell me if I'm right on this. I think I've heard it like the practice of holy listening, just like carrying that sacred space with someone. Is that
absolutely
good language? Very beautiful, and through that, you're tapping into some ancient practices and probably guiding people or suggesting for people a few different things that have been practiced by followers of Jesus for centuries. Sometimes in our movement, a Pentecostal movement, we're less acquainted with them, and so sometimes they feel a little bit mystical or some of those things. But I think the series we're in right now, we're actually tapping in and talking about some of them, and some of them feel completely normal to us. This past weekend, we talked about prayer. We'll have some more conversation about that in a minute. But some of them are a little bit less common. Funny enough, this week we're talking about Sabbath. That for some of us, that feels like it's an Old Testament idea. But it's been, what are some of the other practices, just a few of them that you find are some of the most eye-opening and special, maybe even from your own perspective, your own story?
Yeah. I was in a season of fasting.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So I fasted once a week for about a year and a half.
Beautiful.
And I went into it kicking and screaming because I love food.
Me too.
As we all do.
Yeah.
And I thought, Lord, but it was one of those moments of, I want you to do this.
Right.
And didn't really understand, okay, why now? Okay. So, what I have learned is to lean in when I hear directives that are in line with who God is. Right. And so fasting, it's a spiritual practice. And, I'd only fasted a few times in the past, but sense this very clear directive to make it a regular part, so to make it a rhythm of my week. And so it would start Tuesday night and go till Wednesday night.
Right.
And it was choppy at first because I thought, well, I just don't eat.
Right.
And then it actually took months for me to get into the flow of things. I'm like, I'm a slow learner here.
Yeah.
But I came to actually so look forward to the day of fasting, because it was a day that I cleared my agenda to spend that time in prayer and fasting, because I think the two go hand in hand.
Right, yeah.
And so the prayers that I didn't have time to pray during the week, I would bring it
Oh,
onto
beautiful.
that day.
That's cool. I
Yeah.
like that. How practical.
Yeah, very,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's like, oh man, I've got this list that I want to pray through. And there's something that happens in the spiritual realm when you're fasting. There is like there's a power
Yeah,
that enters in
right.
when you are sacrificing, giving something up
Mm,
to give to the Lord. And so I got into the habit of writing down my prayers during the fast days. And then I would say about a couple of months ago, I got the release.
mm.
Don't have to fast anymore. And
Interesting.
yeah, because prior to that, I would go, oh, it's fast day. Fast day is coming up.
Yeah.
I want to prepare for it, and I'd get excited. And then all of a sudden, I just felt this release. And so I can't speak in general terms. I know for me, the Lord led me into this season of fasting. It seems like now I'm in the season of, okay, I want you, you don't have to fast, but there may come another time, another season where I want you to go into the practice of fasting again.
Interesting.
For others, it might be a lifelong,
Right.
regular routine. So I don't want to mandate it,
Right.
but this was my experience.
And I think this is what's interesting about this whole approach to spirituality, and even that a spiritual director, I think if you're following along, some of the puzzle pieces might be coming into place where the way you follow Jesus 10 years ago would be completely fine if you stayed the same person from where you were. You've gone through so much in the last 10 years. You're a completely different person now. And for you to approach your relationship with Jesus right now the same way you did 10 years ago would almost be denying some of the beautiful work that he's done in you and how he's changed you. You got to meet him where you're at right now. And so for a practice to change is not a failure or giving up on something so much as you are adopting a more realistic view of where you're at in your relationship right now. Yeah. Just the same way, like I'm my wife Margaret and I have a very different relationship now than we did 10 years ago. And some of the stuff that was really helpful for us 10 years ago, we don't do anymore because it's not where we're at, right? So that is really beautiful. Can we dive into some prayer practices specifically? And I definitely want to get to a couple that you've talked to me about, and I still want to hear a bit more about and learn from you a bit more. But I think we often, especially just natural understanding of prayer, is communication with God. Even outside of the Christian worldview, would be communicating with a higher being, or that idea. But when we talk about prayer, often it is. I think I talk about this with my two sons. Is like I don't want it just to be a shopping list for us, where we give God a list of needs. Of course, He wants to hear that. Of course, He wants us to be open with where we feel lack, or where we feel like we would love for Him to do things for us. There's so much more to prayer than that. I'm still discovering some of those aspects of prayer. You talked even about your ideal morning, sitting there. That's a type of prayer. Sitting in silence is a prayer, and it says so much. Even just as you're praying with your physical posture, just sitting and waiting, there is something that you're expressing to God, and you're inviting Him into shaping you and doing things in your heart that it wouldn't happen if you were talking the whole time. And so I think a lot of, and this might be our like North American mentality, we feel like prayer is work. Prayer is us doing things so that God will do things. Even fasting sometimes can be like that for us. So that's I think often the mentality we bring to prayer. What are some of the more nuanced ways where prayer can be more of a dialogue, more of God doing things, less of us doing things? Anything that you would highlight or share with us that way?
Yeah. I shared with you my coffee mornings.
Yeah.
So that came about. So I have coffee with the Trinity every morning.
I love it.
This is going to sound so strange to so many people, but a few years ago, I remember I was sitting and praying, and I couldn't get a picture of God. Not that, I need a picture, but
Yeah.
I just couldn't. I had a hard time sensing him. And I remember just sitting there crying out and saying, Lord, would you help me to see you? Would you help me to sense you in this moment? And immediately, what came into my head was a painting, an ancient painting by Rublev, I believe. It's a picture of the Trinity. I don't even really like the painting, but it's a painting of the Trinity sitting around a table.
Okay, we'll put it in the show notes.
Okay, and so that came into my head, and I thought, okay, all right. And then slowly, as I sat there, it morphed into more of a modern day painting, and then it just became the scene where they're sitting around a table and there is an empty chair.
This is just in your mind's eye.
Just in my head.
Yeah.
As I'm sitting there in this time. And I picture myself, and I see myself as a child, maybe around 10 years old, walking up to the table, and I see them beckon me to sit, have a seat. And so I sit, and I'm looking up at them. So they're sitting around, I'm sitting there, and I just sense, I see the smiles on their face, the welcome, the delight of having me sit there. And there's a steaming cup of coffee. And we all have our mugs, and we just sit there. And for me, now, okay, I don't want to picture or paint a picture of myself as this incredible saint, because I don't make it awake every morning.
Right. This is the ideal.
This is the ideal morning.
Yeah, good to clarify. That's that puts a lot of us.
Yeah, I give myself grace.
Into grace.
I'm in the stage of life where sleep is spotty.
Yeah.
So if I can get up in the morning to have my time, it's a gift.
That's good.
And so when I do get the chance to have my coffee in the dark, it's me sitting, envisioning, walking up to the table. Some mornings I drag my feet to that table, but my cup of coffee, my steaming cup of coffee, is sitting there, and they are waiting for me to come and sit with them and just spend time with them. And there's no words. I look up at them, and it's, I think Comer used this, John Mark Comer used this story of this peasant that used to sit in a chapel, and he would sit there for hours, and the priest came in and said, "What do you do?" And he says, "I look at God, he looks at me, and we're happy."
Yeah.
And that's what I do. And so I'll sit there. So, we'll call that the practice of silence and solitude.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And if I can start my morning like that, it's a good day.
Right. Yeah, that's beautiful. And that, in a sense, is a prayer practice. It specifically silences solitude,
Yeah.
but that is a type of prayer, just being there. And I'm sure that mental imagery helps you. If you're a visual person, I'm a visual person. Sometimes having that just, if it brings so much more meaning and depth and purpose to that time, as opposed to if you're just staring at a blank wall, saying this is prayer, right?
Yeah.
So that is beautiful. And thanks for sharing that with us. That there's a personal element to you even sharing some of that with us. So I think that's going to help people, and everyone's going to be doing it different. Have you ever used written prayers or wrote your prayers or prayed someone else's written prayers? Has that been a part of your practice?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I even today in the noon, the week of prayer,
Yes.
I wrote out that prayer yesterday. The process of sitting, and I do better when I can sit and think through,
Right.
and then the words just start flowing.
Right. Yeah.
And rather than it being an intellectual exercise, it becomes prayer and worship.
Right.
And so writing out my prayers, absolutely. I don't do it all the time, but there are, again, times where I just need to get it down on paper.
Right.
And reading other people's prayers, oh, yeah, absolutely.
It can be so formative, eh? To experience someone else's own imagination connecting to God.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you hear other people's prayers or you read them, you go, oh, that resonates.
Right.
What I couldn't articulate, perhaps, it's here.
Is there a specific season when you found them to be most helpful?
I wouldn't say a particular season, but I'll come across. So my mother-in-law had she passed away last year.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I held on to was a devotional using the Psalms. And what I love and I just started on January 1st, and in each devotional is a little prayer poem written along with the psalm.
Yeah.
And I tried to memorize one of them a couple of days ago. And I woke up this morning going, what was it again?
Oh.
It's an age thing. And because I wanted to, it was so beautiful. And it was based on Psalm 2.
Oh, nice.
And so, yes, reading other people's prayers, poetry, writings as prayer. Love it. Yeah.
Love it. That's beautiful. I know for me, when I've been in a place where I don't have the energy or capacity to find my own words, this has happened even when I've experienced other more liturgical practices, and I felt like someone was giving me words to pray, and it was almost such a compassionate act to provide words when my soul felt empty. Yeah. And I was being given tools to communicate things that I had no energy to have the imagination to come up with. So that's been helpful for me, but I love that. And memorization, oh my goodness. It's not just an age thing. I've never been able to do that well. It's honestly, I feel like God's been nudging me towards it. I've been ignoring it because it's just, I can't even remember, I can't remember so many things. So.
Oh, Matt. Yeah. Okay. You're a kindred spirit then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's nice to be not alone on that. Okay. So I really want to hear you explain a little bit more about Ignatian prayer. Because this is something that has you've shared me a little bit about how formative it was for you, and so this isn't for everybody, or it may be a stage or something, but it's been a really profound and beautiful thing. So maybe just something for the curious amongst
Sure.
us.
Yeah. In 2022, when I finished my spiritual direction program, I remember it was in June, and I sat there and I said, Lord, what next? Because I was in this incredibly rich environment of learning.
Right. Yeah.
And I would say a couple of weeks later, I got an email from a spiritual director offering Ignatian prayer. And I had heard about Ignatian prayer in my spiritual direction program. And
Okay.
it was one of those things where it just tweaked my attention, pay attention, because this sounds interesting.
Right.
And so then when she offered this, again, it was one of those things where I didn't completely know what it was, but I got that sensation, that download, if you can call it that. You are to do this.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, again, not sure what I'm getting into, but I feel, Lord, that you're telling me to do this. So it started in September of 2022. And Ignatian prayer, there's various ways to do it. They're called retreats. So you've got the very intense 1-week retreat where you go away and you spend time away, and you meet with a spiritual director every day.
Okay.
And I believe multiple times a day, possibly. And then there's a 30-day retreat. And I did what's called the 9-month retreat.
Whoa.
And so you have to be committed to this. And it is a prayer program that really, I would say, requires, they say about 45 minutes, but for me, it ended up being about an hour and a half each day. And it takes you through various stages of coming face to face with your own sin. And there's something called disordered attachments, recognizing what they are in your life. So what has become a part of your life that is hindering your relationship with God?
Not necessarily bad things, but things out of the proper order.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
It could be good things, but if they take priority.
Right.
And I remember, so I'll preface this by saying I'm not an overly emotive or emotional person. My kids, the oldest is 30. My kids have probably seen me cry, I don't know, less than 5 times in their life.
Wow. Okay.
I don't, but
I'm the exact opposite. Yeah.
But my goodness, going through this prayer program, I had a box of Kleenex that I went through, boxes of Kleenex. And I'm and sometimes heaving, sobbing.
Wow.
And it was this daily coming and sitting with the Lord, and he would just show me things. And it was like house cleaning.
Wow.
And you got to be ready for it. And I remember a friend of mine who's a spiritual director said to me, you should only do it if you're called to do it. And you'll know when you're called to do it.
Okay.
And and I thought, okay, well, I think, I don't know what it is, but I think I'm being called to it.
Right.
And and the other very distinct thing about Ignatian prayer is the use of imagination. Now, I know some people are going to hear that and go, oh, I don't know about this. But, I mean, what became so clear to me is God has given us this gift of imagination.
Yeah.
So even me sitting with the Trinity and having coffee with them, what does that do for me? That draws me
Right.
closer to God.
Yeah.
And so this gift of imagination would come to life as during the scripture reading. In the guide in Ignatian prayer, there would be some scripture that you are to meditate on. And scripture verses that I've read many times before. But in this context, in this time of being where the Spirit is so close, he would open up my eyes to a deeper awareness, a deeper level of seeing into the verses, into the context. And, some moments, some days would be so overwhelmingly beautiful. And part of it is to write down, spend time at the end, writing down what you've experienced.
Okay.
And I'll be honest, I've only gone back and read through my notebooks only a couple of times, because I have to be in the right headspace to go back and immerse myself into that intensity again.
Yeah.
But that was so formative for me in the way I pray, in the way I see God, and in my relationship with Him.
So I think many people are just relating to your story would be able to see, much like a bodybuilder doing the intensity of work, they get the result at the end, and they're probably like admiring you and encouraged by you, but there's a sense of wow, maybe I can't do that, and not everything that you've done is for everyone. But I hope we're each getting a little bit of a sense of little steps when you're trying to sense what the Holy Spirit is leading towards, and you're obedient toward in that direction. That there's such great fruit. Like when I talk to you about where you're at and where your relationship is with Jesus, I've only known you more recently, but I have a sense of the depth that your relationship goes. But that doesn't mean you're high and lofty and like
not at all.
You're a very down to earth person, and these conversations. I remember the first time we had a brief conversation. I was over at your house, and you mentioned it, and I was like, oh, but I had no idea some of the depth of study and practice that you had been a part of, and this is something that I love about been able to get to know you, is that it hasn't made you into a monk. You know what I mean? You still feel like a normal human being.
Thank you.
But when there is this, when we have a conversation about spirituality, or when we talk about God, or when we pray, there's a depth that you immediately I at least can sense that you're drawing from in your walk, which is just so profound and beautiful. There's a part of it for me where I wonder, you when you discussed some of what you went through with your parents passing, and then Ron's illness, and then even his parents passing more recently. Why would you put yourself through so much? Like on a spiritual side, and it doesn't feel like it's coming from a place of just like trying to work to get close to God, and from a place where you're trying to pull God into your space and like trying to show him how much you can achieve. Like it feels like an obedience thing. Do you know what I'm trying to pull? Where did you find the energy to come to that with?
I mean, okay, well, first of all, let me say, I just ask my kids. I am not a saint by any stretch of the word. I still have many flaws. But that word obedience, when I go back to my childhood, that scrappy kid that walked around the neighborhood, and just trying to get a sense of belonging, a sense of who I was. I go back to that kid, and I think the one thing that I learned or that I developed was to listen and to be, I think growing up, I just saw so much. I mean, my family, there was a lot of dysfunction in my family growing up. And my parents just came from real difficult backgrounds. And they were loving, but in an Asian way.
Okay.
They feed you.
If you live in Toronto, you kind of know what that means.
Totally. Like there's no outward affection.
Sure, yeah.
But I knew I was loved.
Yeah.
And they had instilled this faith in me. And I don't know, maybe it's this Asian obedience thing, that you obey your elders. And so I kind of think that was instilled within me, is the sense of obedience.
Okay.
And so the being obedient to those callings and those nudges, the most significant one after my childhood experience was the one that led me to marry Ron.
Okay.
And that was it was one of these moments of make a choice, make a decision, come back to me. Because when I was in university, I kind of put God in a box and put him on the shelf. And I said, I'll get back to you one day. Not now.
Okay.
And when that time was up, I just sensed him saying, okay, time's up, make a choice.
Wow.
And I remember it was so strong. And I remember crying out to him and saying, okay, God, I choose you, but I need your help. I need your help to make the right decision. I need your help to do what I have to do, which was break off another relationship.
Okay.
And he came clear. He came through in such a clear way that when I look back on that moment of clarity, when I look back on that moment, that completely changed the course of my life.
Wow.
Because I go, if I didn't choose that road, I'd probably be like a chain-smoking alcoholic divorcee, multiple times over. Who knows what road I would have gone gone down. And so when I look back on that moment, that was life-changing for me. And I say to my kids, thank me for having made that decision because you're here today. And so that moment of obedience back then, I think, is what spurs me to acting in obedience when I get the nudges now. And it's gotten to the point where I can, I know when it's him.
Right.
When he's saying, okay, do this.
Right.
When I get that poke or that nudge or that prompt to pray, it's getting easier to recognize it now.
I love that you're giving us that permission to grow in that, because sometimes it feels like some people are born with antennas that no one else has.
No.
And I from when I've talked to people, and this is something I've always been really curious about, especially having grown up in Pentecostal charismatic circles, is when people say, God told me, I'm always like, what do you mean by that? Because it can mean so many different things. And when I've talked to people, and I think some people, it's a general sense, like I just felt it was the right thing to do. But there is something about when you've learned to practice listening to God. And I think the more you are obedient, I think that is the word. The more you are obedient, the more you hear. And that's interesting to hear. Like you almost echo that back. I've had that conversation with other people a few different times, and that's really interesting and really beautiful. Well, I'm so glad that you are listening well, because some of those obedient decisions has led you to where you're at right now, specifically with your church family. So we're kind of in this season. You mentioned a week of prayer. This is the first week of January. We've got a couple. By the time this releases, we have Thursday and Friday left of week of prayer. But then later this month, we're actually launching Follow Wednesdays, and you were early in on the conversations with what they are and the design of them. And right now, you're really taking the lead role in designing them. And so, what are Follow Wednesdays? We're on the edge of our seats. What is this about?
I would say it is the place where everything we've talked about, everything, so much of what I've gone through, so much of what I've learned, so much of what I've experienced is going into Follow Wednesdays.
Yeah.
It was a bit daunting at first, because I thought, where do I begin? How do I even approach this? But there was this excitement of, but everything that the books I've read, the experiences I've had, the things I've learned, I get to share that. Now, you mentioned the word monk. I mean, if I'm honest, that is my natural tendency. I'm an extreme introvert. So,
okay.
Well,
You're high functioning.
Oh, well, I am happiest. I told you about being in that room in my house, just in silence and solitude. Yeah. I mean, that is what brings me life. And so if I could choose what I wanted to do, it would be, hey, a room full of books, a cup of coffee, and I am as happy as anything. But I realized, no, that's not what the Lord wants from us. He wants that time for us to give that to him, but we are called to go out. And, it's the greatest commandment, love God with all your heart. Yeah. But what's the second part of that? That is, love your neighbor as yourself.
Love God, love neighbor.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so loving God does not mean that I stay in a room by myself and surround myself with books. That's great, but that's not what we are meant to do. And so this was a nudge from him to push me out of the door, and enter into this new endeavor. And so for me, Follow Wednesdays, the first 6 weeks anyway, is taking whoever comes out to a place of depth, a place of going deeper and wider. When I sat and asked the Lord, what words, Lord? Because I love words. Give me words to describe what you want Follow Wednesdays to be. And in that room where I sit and look out the window, there is a red maple that we planted about 10 years ago, and I watch it grow. And so I was sitting there, and immediately the words deep and rooted came up.
Love it.
And so the theme is deeply rooted.
Love it.
So I would love to see anybody who comes out to go deeper in their faith, to know what that means. And you know what? Sometimes that takes a bit of house cleaning spiritually.
Right, yeah.
So going through that as well, what does that look like? To do it in community as well.
Yes, talk a bit about that because that's part of the design, right? Is that
Absolutely.
community is part of it.
Yeah, I mean, again, and I'm preaching to the choir here because you know, um, it's so important to do life with others,
Yeah.
and so we'll have tables set up, and the idea is to sit with your community,
Yeah.
and so each teaching will have lots of time for table discussion. And we want to make these discussions safe places, and places where people can speak freely and
Yeah.
from the
Love
heart.
it. Maybe give us just a preview. What are some, you mentioned the first 6 weeks, you kind of got your head around. What are those
Yeah.
looking like in terms of topics? What are we going to be covering?
So the first week is called From Shallow to Deep.
Okay.
So what does shallow spirituality look like?
Okay.
A shallow faith.
Right.
And, well, what does a deep-rooted faith look like? And how do you go from shallow to deep?
Love it.
So that's week number 1. Week number 2, which you'll be leading because I'll be away that week.
Yeah.
And that is becoming how self-awareness leads you to God awareness. We have to address things within ourselves to open the door to become more fully aware of who God is.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to look at what's going on in our lives. Is there anything that we need to deal with to open the door?
Yeah. And you shared some of that.
Yeah.
Was part of your journey the last few years as well, right? So that's beautiful.
Sure.
Yeah.
Week number 3 is this one's a bit of a heavy one. It's going back to go forward. So going back meaning taking a look perhaps at your family of origin.
Yeah.
We bring a lot of baggage from our family of origin. Some of it good. Yeah. Things that we learn, like for me, the legacy of faith that my father instilled within us. But there's a lot of other stuff that we carry with us that perhaps we're not meant to carry.
Right.
And that we can let go. And the beauty of that is we don't have to bring it with us. It's not attached to us permanently.
Love it.
So how do we unload that stuff in order to clear the way to be able to journey with Jesus much more fully?
Yeah, that as difficult as it might sound, I think that's going to be such a beautiful conversation to have. Yeah.
And then week 4 is hitting the wall.
Hitting the wall. Okay.
The dark night of the soul.
I think that's going to be so helpful.
Yeah. Week 5 and 6, I'm juggling.
Okay.
I'm
still in process.
I've got an idea, and it's like just sitting and trying to discern, how do I finish this 6-week series?
Right. Yeah.
So TBD.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. And if you're watching this down the road in the future, Follow Wednesdays isn't just 6 weeks.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing it ongoing. And in fact, I just heard some other curriculum that we're planning on. You probably heard about later in the year, closer to Easter. There's a series we're going to do. I'm not going to spill any beans here, but this is going to be an ongoing environment that you can connect to, and you can jump in whenever. But you'll find a place that you'll want to come back to, I think, and hopefully even just a community that you're starting. If you do keep coming back, you're going to experience some of the best parts I've experienced, and you've probably experienced about being in community with other people. It's a journey you go on with others, where you don't start from zero again. You grow deeper in relationship with other people as you're connecting to God and even connecting to yourself, right? So, this is really good. I'm very excited. So this is launching Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. So excited to have you a part of that. Thank you for being willing to share your story today, but also to being willing to share some of your life with your community, leading us in these next Wednesdays you're bringing a lot of your own personal experience and study and some of that, but even just who you are, you're bringing a lot of yourself to this. So thank you for being willing to share with us that way, especially as an introvert.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a season of change and stretch. And it's so good. Yeah,
That's good.
So good.
That's good. So thank you everyone else for being a part of this conversation and for being willing to be part of this. Listen, we've got on the Follow Podcast page, we've got a place where you can submit a question, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can just comment a question. If there's anything that you want to hear more about, maybe you heard something in Pauline's story today, you have some follow-up questions. I have a feeling we're going to have Pauline back someday. So maybe we can ask her some of those questions. But in general, about spiritual practices and anything that we talked about today, feel free to throw those in there. We are going to put links to anything we talked about that we can think of into the show notes and the description of the video if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you, Pauline, for being here. Thank you, everyone else, for being a part of this honest and open conversation for people who are actively learning to live like Jesus. We are so excited to be back with you next week for episode 25. See you, everybody.